Assalamu alaikum students, this is your instructor Muhammad Umar Khatak for the course Human Resource Management. This is our 12th lecture, chapter number 5, and today our topic of discussion is analysis of the supply of human resources and development of plans for action. Analyzing the current supply of employees. The third phase of human resource planning is designed to answer the question, how many and what kind of employees do I currently have in the terms of skills and training necessary for future? It should be obvious that this phase of HR planning involves much more than simply counting the number of current employees in the organization. The skills inventory. The major tool used to assess the current supply of employees is the skills inventory. In some organizations, there will also be a separate inventory just for managers called management inventory. Both serve the same purpose, to note what kind of skills, abilities, experiences, and trainings the employees currently have. By keeping track of these, the organization can quickly determine whether a particular skill is available when it is needed. Skill inventories are also useful in career planning, management development, and related activities. A skill inventory in its simplest form is a list of names, characteristics, and skills of the people working for the organization. It provides a way to acquire these data and make them available when needed in an efficient manner. For a small organization, it is relatively easy to know how many employees there are, what they do, and what they can do. A mom and pop grocery store may employ only the owners and may have only 2 part-time helpers to plan for. When they see that one part-time employee is going to graduate in June, they know they need to replace him or her. Sources of supply could include the owner's children, their other part-time helpers, who could be converted into full-time assistants, and the local school's career services department. It is quite different situation with, say, a school system employing hundreds of people at numerous locations or such mammoth organizations as Shell Oil Company, Walmart, and Microsoft. These kind of organizations must know how many full-time and peripheral employees they have working for them and where. They must know what skills prospective employees would need to replace people who have quit, retired, or been fired, or what skills current employees need in order to be relocated for new function or more work. Skills inventories vary greatly in their sophistication. Some are simple as a file drawer containing index cards with relevant information typed on them. Others are tied into extremely expensive and complex computer databases. Contents of the skills inventory. Once the decision has been made to create a skills inventory, the HR manager must determine what information will be contained in the system. The only data available to the organization for later use will be whatever has been designed into the system. The list of data that might be coded into skills inventories is almost endless, and it must be tailored to the needs of each organization. Some of the more common items include name, employee number, present location, date of birth, date of employment, job classification, specific skills and knowledge, education, field of education, knowledge of a foreign language, professional qualifications, publication, licenses, patents, hobbies, a supervisory evaluation of the employee's capabilities, and salary range. Items often omitted but becoming increasingly important are the employee's own stated career goals and objectives, including geographical preferences and intended retirement. The modern sophisticated skills inventory is, however, much more than a simple listing of employees' current skill level. For example, AMP, Tyco Electronics, which manufactures electronic connections devices and currently employs about 16,000 workers, has a skill inventory cataloging 94 different job classifications across 13 labor grades. The company Manufacturing Skill Inventory System MSIS helps it respond to a variety of complex issues. Do workers have the skills necessary for developing and producing new and innovative products? What skills must be mastered before someone is hired? What skills will be learned after being hired? What skills are necessary for a worker to receive a certain promotion? Who is available to serve as a mentor for other workers? How effective are the people who have been targeted to be mentors? Maintaining the skills inventory. While designing the system is the most difficult part of developing a skills inventory, planning for gathering, maintaining, handling, and updating of data is also important. The two principal methods for gathering data are the interview and the questionnaires. The questionnaire is faster and less expensive. When many employees are involved, but inequities often prevail. People often do not spend enough time on a questionnaire. Therefore, some experts contend that a trained interviewer can complete the reports more quickly and accurately, a procedure which in the long run more than offsets the cost of the interviewer. A procedure for keeping the files updated must also be planned. For some organizations, an annual update is adequate. In others, where changes are made often and use is frequent, shorter update periods may be necessary. Some organizations update changeable data monthly and less changeable data annually. Finally, a decision whether to store the data manually or on the computer must be made. This decision is based on the cost of the computer and the frequency of the use of data. The computer also provides the possibility of using comparative analysis of employment over a period of time. Skills inventory are useful only if management uses the data in making significant decisions. Top management support is necessary here. Before a manager uses the skills inventory as an aid in selection decision, he or she must be trained to avoid abuse of the system. Examples of the abuse are making requests simply on the basis that it would be nice to know, making requests for searches that are not backed up by bona fide requisitions that have been budgeted, specifying too many characteristics for a desired employee so that no one fits all the characteristics. Development of plan for action. Action decisions in human resource planning. After the human resource planning system has analyzed both the supply and demand of the future workers, these two forecasts are compared to determine what, if any, action should be taken. Whenever there is a discrepancy between these two estimates, the organization needs to choose a course of action to eliminate the gap. Action decisions with a shortage of employees. When human resource specialists comparing demand with supply find that the supply of workers is less than the demand, several possibilities are open to the organization. If the shortage is small and employees are willing to work overtime, it can be filled with present employees. If the shortage of highly skilled employees, training and promotion of present employees, together with the recruitment of less skilled employees, are possibilities. This decision can also include recalling employees who are previously laid off. Intense global competition, rapid technological change, and fears caused by recent workforce reductions have also led many organizations to increase their use of part time workers, subcontractors, and independent professionals in response to changing demands. And while the number of these contingent workers in the United States has declined slightly, they still constitute a sizable portion of the workforce. In 2009, some experts suggest that the contingent workers made up approximately 31% of the US labor force. Using contingent workers gives many organizations more flexibility in dealing with temporary shortages of labor than does maintaining more traditional full-time employees. Action decisions in surplus conditions. When comparison of demand for and supply of employees indicates a surplus, the alternative solutions include attrition, early retirement, demotions, layoffs, and terminations. Decisions in surplus conditions are some of the most difficult that managers must make because the employees who are considered surplus are seldom responsible for the conditions leading to the surplus. A shortage of raw material such as fuel or poorly designed or poorly marketed product can cause an organization to have surplus of employees. As a first approach to dealing with the surplus, most organizations avoid layoffs by relying on attrition, early retirement, and creation of work. And the like, many organizations can reduce their workforce simply by not replacing those who retire or quit. Sometimes this approach is accelerated by encouraging employees close to retirement to leave early. But there are drawbacks to this approach if the early retirement program is not carefully planned. Some experts believe that in recent years, American corporations have too frequently and quickly turned to layoffs and have failed to fully plan for and evaluate the consequences of their actions. For example, research suggests that the survivors of layoffs, that is, employees who remain unemployed at the organization, often experience a decrease in morale and productivity after they watch their friends and fellow workers lose their job. In addition, data suggests that layoffs do not lead to better financial performance in the long run, and poorly planned reductions in the workforce can have disastrous effects on morale. Human Resource Information System HRIS. It should be obvious by now that the key to successful HR planning is information. All of the activities discussed in this chapter assume that the organization is able to collect, store, and evaluate large amounts of information about the internal and external environments. For many organizations, mechanical techniques for dealing with these large amounts of information are no longer adequate. Fortunately, there now exist very sophisticated computerized systems that allow organizations to cope with these information demands. A human resource information system is much more than a computerized skills inventory. An HRIS is an integrated approach to acquiring, storing, analyzing, and controlling the flow of information throughout the organization. Highly developed human resource information system can be useful in nearly all HRM functions and can greatly increase efficiency and response times of various traditionally labor and time intensive human resource activities. The system might contain a program for tracking applicants, a skills inventory, a career planning program, and employee service programs such as an electronic bulletin board. Its applications are therefore almost endless. One of the most common uses of an HRIS is in recruitment and tracking of applicants. By using its applicants tracking program along with supply and demand analysis, Tata Consultancy Services of India is able to recruit and train over 25,000 multilingual employees in 6 months. Succession planning. It has become more than simply chartering expecting replacement for a given position. Many experts now suggest that specifying one particular replacement for a specific job is pointless, given the changing nature of business. Rather than succession planning is now considered an integral part of a comprehensive career planning program, which can be greatly assisted by a computerized human resource information system. Clearly, succession planning must assume a higher priority in many corporations. In addition, however, many progressive companies now realize that a critical part of any successful succession plan is a comprehensive retention plan. Succession planning is not only a means for dealing with anticipated transitions in executive leadership, but also a way of coping with unanticipated departures, either from losses to competitors or to deaths, which is a reality of an aging executive workforce. To summarize the major points covered in this chapter, the major reasons for formal employment planning are to achieve A. More effective and efficient use of human resources, B. More satisfied and better developed employees, and C. More effective equal opportunity planning. The human resource planning process is a joint responsibility of the HR and operating managers, with each performing specific functions in the process. Four forecasting techniques used to determine workforce needs described in this chapter are expert estimates, trend projections, modeling, and unit forecasting. An important step in the planning process is to determine the availability of those presently employed by the organization who can fill projected vacancies. The skills inventory can serve this purpose. A growing number of firms are now using computerized human resource information system to help in the planning process. HRIS performs a number of functions including applicants tracking, succession planning, skills inventories, and employee services. Action decisions where there is a surplus of employees include attrition, early retirement, demotions, layoffs, and terminations. Organization needs to analyze the supply of and demand for employees in advance so they can take necessary steps to reschedule, recruit, or lay off employees. The organization should analyze workforce composition to determine whether it meets legal constraints. This would be the end of the chapter and the topic. Thank you.